The shootout has drastically changed since its debut in 2005. We've gone from thoughtless, linear attempts to complex, refined strategies. In this video, ATI will break down this evolution into 4 distinct generations, each spawning from revolutionary techniques that were then adopted throughout the NHL. Buckle up, this is going to be a good one. In hindsight, the first generation of shooters were simply not prepared for the shootout. Players drew parallels to the only similar play they knew, which was the breakaway. This meant the 2 new affordances bestowed on them, that being time and angle, were neglected. These clips are from the NHL's first ever shootout. They all mimic a breakaway down the middle, as if they were being chased by a defender. It was either skate forward and shoot, or skate forward, deke and shoot. The cadence was predictable, and goalie success relied heavily on matching this cadence. It isn't to say there weren't some great moves here and there, but generally speaking, goalies weren't being tested horizontally or vertically, and could rely heavily on the butterfly. It was time for shooters to innovate. Whether it was coached or inherently learned, the rushed linear attempt slowly retreated for the later rounds. Meanwhile, the starting lineup began to acknowledge their affordances, playing with speed and angle. Lack of speed is something that every sport takes advantage of in their version of the shootout. It's based on the assumption that goalies start in perfect position and then have the ability to lose this advantage with delays and fakes. Hockey has the added element of the X and Y axis movement, so they can use speed in 2 different ways. The first is change of speed. This is intended to get goalies to lose their depth and/or momentum, which was made famous by Kane's pull-up. The other tactic of speed is simply elongating time and danger area. Shooters can do whatever they want between the center dot and the top of the circles, but it benefits them to take a slower speed from that point forth, as this is the area that you're actually going to beat a goalie. While some attempts have made it look like there should be a minimum speed, it's more about keeping the goalie interested. Otherwise, you're going to get a reactionary poke check from the tendy. Gen 2's second tactic is to take an angled approach. We weren't quite yet seeing the crazy angles of today, but players like UC Jokinen were consistently coming in off kilter, providing a more natural shooting angle while starting to test horizontal positioning. See how Jokinen hides his release location by keeping the puck on the backhand? While the King wasn't exactly taking his sleight of hand at face value, the move back to the forehand combined with the shot location was enough to leave goalies feeling powerless. To help with predictability, Jokinen added the Forsberg move to his bag. Since this naturally branched off his main move, goalies couldn't tell what flavor they were going to get. This 1-2 punch is a great segue into the 3rd generation. Gen 3 of the shootout was championed by TJ Oshie, who showcased his set of techniques in the 2014 Olympics. While shootout success was nothing new for TJ, the ability to go 4 for 6 against the same goaltender on a global stage reset expectations for the rest of the league. TJ's techniques all stem from one mindset, which was to productize the shootout. What I mean by this is that Oshie created a set of 3 interchangeable moves, standardized every remaining element, and then perfected the product with repetition and refinement. And look at the final result. He starts each shootout at the far blue, he has the same initial receival, and no detail is too small. As for his interchangeable moves, they don't require a high level of skill, he's not asking for any post-and-in shots, and there's no unnecessary stick handles. The execution needs to be precise, but that's what comes with doing the same shootout over and over and over again. And since he believes in what he created, he's committed to it, even after a missed attempt. The more you can shift your objective from beating the goalie to executing your move, the more success you'll have in the shootout. Oshie reveals this philosophy in interviews, saying he's more concerned about what he can make the goalie do rather than what the goalie is actually doing. He even went as far as to say he didn't know Bob was in net for the shootouts. Whether that's true or not isn't so much the point, it's more of how Oshie perceives it. If there's one thing to take away from this video, it'd be this mindset shift. One final note on Oshie. Of the many things he standardized, one was his route, which I'm defining as a player's path from center dot to shot attempt. Oshie having one and only one route means his final moves are truly interchangeable, and his timing and spacing are second nature. This is a sneaky big benefit, as so many failed attempts are due to either getting too tight on net or mishandling an unnecessary deke. As we'll see in Gen 4, having a consistent route has taken a bit of a backseat in recent years, but players like Panarin and Robertson do use this technique. In fact, we have a whole separate video outlining Robertson's meticulous work on the shootout. And if we're looking at the bigger picture, he's one of the few Gen 4 shooters who have followed Oshi's footsteps when it comes to productization. The fourth and current generation has combined techniques learned from Gen 2 and 3 and made a few of their own. Let's start with a combination of techniques. Watch this attempt by Zegras, who leverages 3 different techniques to get the goalie pushed back as far as possible. What makes this even more subtle is Zegras doesn't kick up any snow to indicate the change of speed. By the time Zegras is making his final move, Thompson is already tucked in for the night. Kusi does this as well, combining the low block technique from Jokinen with the slow approach a la Kane. The big asterisk on this technique is the fact that you're asking a lot out of your hands. You never want to compromise the likelihood of getting a shot off, which is why I wouldn't recommend this to everyone. Oshie has taught us that quality is way more important than quantity, but Zegras' results and his smirk add situational legitimacy to the why not both mantra. A net new Gen 4 technique is exploiting goalie leg positions. While Zook is most likely the godfather of the RVH exploitation, it's flourished in the Gen 4 era. This is due to players taking a wider final angle and goalies' current stubbornness to avoid the butterfly. And boy does Zegras love this move. Look at him combining techniques again to go ATI via RVH. The RVH also opens up top glove, as tendies need to compensate for the flush left pad. We see Robertson cashing in on this by leveraging route to trigger the RVH. Zegras makes it a double using route and a change of speed to force the load up. We can acknowledge elements of shot deception on these attempts, but the main act is forcing the pad configuration. Another Gen 4 theme is the uptick of what I'm defining as novelty shots. Simply put, it's something a goalie has never seen before, in a game or in a practice. Again, the idea isn't something brand new, but the justification to attempt these backyard moves has reached an all-time high, with attempts like these showing up in the top 3 slot without any scrutiny. Did Pasta take it too far? Probably, but it goes to show that players now have complete freedom to try what they think will give them the best chance for that check mark. The final Gen 4 technique is extending the shooting window. Remember Jokinen's Gen 2 move? In an effort to conceal the release location, he was consequently minimizing the release window. At the time, this was enough for consistent success, but goalies did know when the shot was coming. Therefore, the margin of error was small. So how are Gen 4 players extending the shooting window? Well, they can still use Jokinen's route and shot, and just slow it down and add a lot of fakes. Or, they can drag the puck across the danger area, cocked in a shooting position. Again, we are drawing parallels to Gen 2, but compounding the effect with horizontal movement. It does involve some puck possession skill, but it's a form of torture for tendies. They have zero idea when the shot is coming as they shuffle across the crease. While McD is a frequent user of this play, Nick Suzuki has moved closer to productization. While I previously defined Gen 4 as complex and refined, I of course believe there's a lot of room for improvement. Here's what ATI sees the shootout looking like in the foreseeable future, and let's do this rapid fire. Further exploitation of the rules. Yes, they can be annoying to watch, but the results are undeniable and players down the lineup will use this to get their percentage up. The face-off dot is a sweet spot. This angle maximizes shootout success and facilitates a lot of the techniques mentioned above. Players are starting to gravitate there already, but we foresee this being a full-on epidemic soon enough. Even Kane, who historically kept a pretty straight approach, is converted. Finally, a continued adoption of productization. There will still be room for the occasional novelty shot as there's still so much room for innovation, but those should be strategic. Coaches being surprised by an attempt within the first 5 rounds should be a foreign idea in the not so distant future. Other than that, time will tell, as rules and goalie philosophy can certainly change. Wow, ladies and gents, that was a big one. This was quite literally months in the making, including research, analysis, feedback, and mental space. If you enjoyed these insights, then please share it with someone that would appreciate this level of detail. We're hoping to get this video in the hands of the right people and are way less concerned about the number. Lastly, we want to hear some feedback, the good and the constructive. While a lot of this video is backed by film, it's still very opinionated and worth further discussion in the comments. And goalies, please share your side of the story. ATI out.